There is one habit that quietly separates people over time. It does not look impressive. It does not bring instant results, but it is repeated every single day, and because of that, it shapes everything. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is not talent. It is what they do consistently. Most people focus on big decisions. They wait for the right moment, the right opportunity, the perfect plan. But winners do something different. They focus on small actions that repeat daily, because repetition builds direction, and direction creates results over time. This habit begins with awareness, the ability to notice what you are doing instead of acting automatically. Most people move through their day without questioning their actions. They react, they repeat, and they never stop to think about where those actions are leading them. The daily habit is simple. You pause before you act. Not for long, just enough to decide. This small pause gives you control. It breaks the automatic pattern that keeps most people in the same place for years. Control is what creates difference. Without it, your day controls you. With it, you begin to shape your day. And over time, shaping your day means shaping your life. This is where the separation begins. Not in one moment, but in every moment that follows. Once you begin pausing, you start seeing patterns you never noticed before. The same decisions, the same reactions, repeated every day. This awareness shows you why results do not change. Because when actions stay the same, outcomes stay the same. And without change, progress is impossible. The habit now becomes intentional. You do not just pause, you decide. You choose actions that move you forward instead of keeping you comfortable. This shift feels small, but over time it builds a completely different direction. Most people avoid this step because it is uncomfortable. Choosing growth often means choosing difficulty, but comfort keeps you where you are. And over time, staying comfortable becomes the biggest barrier to change. Winners understand that small discomfort creates long-term advantage. They accept short-term effort in exchange for future results. This is what separates them from those who avoid change. The habit continues through repetition. Every day, the same process. Pause, decide, act with intention. This repetition builds consistency, and consistency builds momentum over time. Momentum is what creates visible results. Not one action, but many actions working together. And once momentum begins, progress becomes easier to maintain. As the habit continues, your thinking begins to change. You stop reacting to situations and start preparing for them. Instead of being surprised by outcomes, you begin to expect them. This shift creates clarity, and clarity allows you to act with confidence instead of hesitation. Confidence grows not from luck, but from repeated action. Each time you follow the habit, you reinforce your ability to control your decisions. And over time, that control becomes natural. You no longer question whether you can act differently. You simply do. This is where most people fall behind. They rely on motivation, which comes and goes. But winners rely on structure. And structure does not depend on how you feel. It depends on what you have decided to do every day. The daily habit removes the need for constant effort. It turns decisions into routine. And once something becomes routine, it no longer feels difficult. It becomes part of who you are. At this stage, your results begin to reflect your actions. Not immediately, but clearly over time. The gap between you and others starts to grow, even if it is not obvious at first. That gap is created by consistency. Small actions, repeated daily, build a difference that becomes impossible to ignore over time. As the habit strengthens, your days stop feeling random. There is structure behind your actions. You are no longer reacting to everything around you. You are moving with intention, and this intention creates a direction that becomes stronger with each decision you make. This is where the real separation begins. Others continue acting based on impulse, while you act based on choice. The difference may look small in the moment, but over time it creates completely different outcomes. You also begin to notice that your energy is used differently. Instead of wasting it on unnecessary decisions, you focus it on what matters. This focus increases efficiency and reduces distraction. Distraction is one of the biggest reasons people fail to progress. It pulls attention away from what is important and spreads effort across too many directions. Without focus, even hard work loses its impact. The daily habit protects you from distraction. It keeps you aligned with your goals, and because of that alignment, your actions begin to build on each other instead of working against each other. This alignment creates progress that feels steady, not fast, not dramatic, but consistent. And consistency is what allows growth to continue without interruption. As the habit continues, your results begin to compound. Not in a dramatic way at first, but in a steady and reliable way. Each day adds to the previous one. Nothing is wasted. And over time, this accumulation creates progress that feels stronger than any single action could produce. This is where patience becomes your advantage. While others look for fast results, you stay focused on the process. And because you stay consistent, your progress continues while others stop and start again. You also begin to trust your actions, not because they always feel easy, but because you have seen them work. This trust removes doubt and allows you to continue without hesitation. Most people never reach this point because they break their consistency. They interrupt the process before it has time to build. And every interruption resets their progress back to the beginning. You avoid this by committing to the habit, not the result. Results take time, but habits can be repeated immediately. And when habits stay consistent, results eventually follow. At this stage, your progress becomes predictable. Not because you know exactly what will happen, but because your actions are stable. And stable actions create stable outcomes over time. Now the difference becomes visible. Not because you change everything at once, but because you stayed consistent. Your actions have been building quietly, and now they begin to show. Progress feels real. It is no longer just effort. It is direction that produces results. This changes how you see yourself. You are no longer someone trying to improve. You become someone who follows through. And that identity makes future decisions easier, because your behavior already aligns with your goals. You also notice that challenges affect you differently. You do not react with frustration. You adjust and continue. This ability to stay consistent under pressure is what separates winners over time. Most people stop when things become difficult, but difficulty is part of the process, and those who continue through it are the ones who create long-term progress. The habit becomes part of your daily rhythm. It no longer feels like effort. It feels like something you do without thinking. And when that happens, progress continues without resistance. This is where growth becomes stable. Not fast, not temporary, but reliable. And reliability is what allows long-term success to develop. At this stage, the results are no longer subtle. The gap between you and others becomes clear. While many are still repeating the same patterns, you are moving forward with control. Your actions are aligned. Your direction is stable, and your progress continues without interruption. You also begin to feel a different kind of confidence, not based on temporary success, but on consistency. You trust your process because you have followed it long enough to see results, and that trust makes it easier to continue, even when progress feels slow. Time now works in your favor. Each day builds on the last. Each decision adds to your momentum. And this accumulation creates a path that becomes stronger with every step forward. Momentum carries you. You no longer need to push as hard as before. The habit moves you forward. And this is where change becomes permanent, because it no longer depends on effort alone. Then you realize something important. There was never a dramatic difference between you and others. Just one daily habit that most people ignore. And that habit created everything that followed. You chose to follow it. You chose consistency over comfort, and that decision changed your direction completely. Most people will never recognize this. They will keep searching for big changes, waiting for the right moment, hoping for a breakthrough. But they will ignore the small daily habit that actually creates results. And because they ignore it, they stay in the same place, no matter how much effort they put in. You chose a different path. You focused on what happens every day. Not once in a while. You understood that repetition creates direction, and direction creates outcomes. This understanding gave you control over your progress. From here, your results become predictable, not because everything is easy, but because your actions are consistent. You are no longer relying on motivation or luck. You are relying on a system that works over time. There will still be difficult days, moments when it feels slow, when progress is not visible, but those moments do not stop you, because you know that consistency always wins, even when it does not feel like it in the moment. Looking back, the change seems simple, just a small habit repeated every day. But that habit created a completely different path. A path where progress builds instead of disappearing. This is the truth most people ignore. Success is not built in big moments. It is built in small ones, repeated daily. And the moment you commit to that habit, everything begins to change, step by step, day by day.